Welcome back, everybody. For you guys, a YouTube video here today, and Jason Blundell himself just exposed Call of Duty exclusive interview telling the truth about what actually happened to the franchise. I'll link the full interview with Jason down below. I will be highlighting the key moments of this interview. So Jason Blundell goes over his experience with Treyarch Studios. In the same time, they had to develop Call of Duty each year. They had an extremely tight window to throw ideas. Jason explains how he focused on his current project and not focus on what everyone else is doing, which he was referring to Infinity Ward. He said he didn't care. He wanted to focus on his team and what they're doing. He also explains how they found their routine and formula of making their games unique. It was very motivating. They have teams working on the campaign side of things, multiplayer side of things, and zombies side of things, making it a healthy relationship.
I think it was a motivator. I think and it was a healthy team relationship. Sometimes you have misstarts, and sometimes you try something,
Sure.
and then it's like, no, we got to change around the management. We got to change around the directors. We got to change around the lead. Oh, we're changing the concept.
The time that they had to make a Call of Duty title in a certain time period, and it was supposed to be a 2-year cycle, but they made the Call of Duty in 1 year. You have to lay out the story and how the story will be told, and when you think they're working on the next game, they have to focus on DLC, which is a downloadable content for future content to be released for its game down the line. You have refresh content for the game, so you're not getting bored of playing the same game from what the game released the content from. DLC will help that game refresh its content and get new players onto the game.
Mhm.
Oh crap! We've only got 9 months to make this one now.
Right.
Even though everyone will say, "Well, this is a 2-year game," and like, well, yeah, it was, but we only made it in
Yeah.
a year.
Yeah.
And then DLC would happen, right? So not only you would have the misfires when you're trying to find a project, and then once you found it, the intensity of making the thing. But then on the back end, the DLC is now eating into that. They've started the timer and saying, "Well, Treyarch's working on the next project." Like, no, we're,
Yeah.
we're doing the DLC.
We got 16 maps over the next 12 months to make.
Mhm.
And yeah.
And this is the part of the interview that gets really spicy into the nitty gritty. They talk about how zombies got started back in World at War. This is where they were focusing on the story mode, which the bombs dropped, obviously. They were working on this third game mode, which they don't know how they were going to do it. You know, people making this game during lunchtime and it was half done. And they had part of the Activision executives saying that, emailing them saying that they got to round 12 or they got to a certain round, which was really crazy. So they said that they shouldn't be focusing on a third game mode, that they didn't know that it would blow up as it did. They didn't want to talk about it or didn't have the time. So what they did was, as a reward of completing the main campaign of the World at War, you'd be sent to this mysterious game mode that no one knew about it. So whoever beat the campaign first, you were sent to this secret third game mode, which was zombies. And it was really traditional, and it was just a new beginning of what zombies was about to become. And it opened a whole opportunity to Call of Duty to advance this zombies mode, brought fans to, wow, I want more of this. This game mode is freaking amazing. Just spawning in with your pistol, surviving into the spawn room, get as much points as possible, rebuilding the barriers, killing zombies, open up the next doors, hitting the mystery box to get more weapons from the box, maybe get the ray gun. At this time, there's no pack-a-punch for this first map. It was just you, the map, and the weapon, and you basically survive. So let's go on back to the interview and let's see how he explains us.
It seems like it was probably a risk at the time, but the fans were on board from the get-go. But the inclusion of this zombies stuff, these zombies in Call of Duty all of a sudden, I mean, Treyarch carving out an identity. Like, yeah, you talk about Black Ops and the kind of subversion of what is war and what is the technology we have to wage it. But at the same time, back during World of War, you kind of have this bonus little thrown in post credit, like this little thing here that suddenly became a juggernaut. Not to,
Nice,
but yeah, it became this massive. I mean, it became the third pillar of Call of Duty. In a game that kind of has these, you're single player, you're competitive, and
Jeff, it shouldn't have. It absolutely shouldn't have, right? And it was, as I'm sure you've heard the stories, it was being made by a couple of guys in the lunchtime on what was already a very hard project that was taking a lot of hours, right?
Sometimes you got to blow off some steam by doing more work.
Exactly. And it started to go around the studio. And then suddenly we're hearing Activision executives sending in emails, I got to round 12. And once that started happening, we were like, okay. But then at the same time, World of War is, as with all war-based historical things, it's a serious topic with we literally finished World at War with the bomb going off, right? So you're sitting there going, really we shouldn't be doing zombies after we just did the atomic bomb scene, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so Activision, quite rightly, and I agree with them, which was like, we're not going to advertise this. We're not going to talk about this. We'll put it in there and put it as an unlock if you complete the campaign. And then it just exploded. People were just contacting us. I've never, you used to hear those TV shows and they go, "Oh, the mailbag's full." I've never seen a mailbag full, but I think it was at Treyarch for zombies.
Yeah.
The number of people that were contacting us, and that wasn't, I wasn't involved in that bit, but I would hear about the success of it. So when I get the call and they say, "Jay, you wouldn't mind just producing a zombie map for you, for us, because we're kind of doing this other thing."
Jason Blundell talks about how he worked on Spider-Man 3 and James Bond.
I've been doing I did some Spider-Man 3 work and a James
Bond.
Little
James Bond, yeah.
Little James Bond, another thing.
So Jason Blundell was mostly doing the campaign side of the story. What he did was he took everything that he did with the campaign of Call of Duty and basically took this opportunity to use that knowledge from what he learned from the campaign and brought that over to the zombies and pretty much expanded it.
Will you do something? I was like, sure. And it was Doris. Doris was the first zombie map that I kind of did, which was in World at War. And I just remember thinking, well, let's just throw everything at the wall, because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But I'd also, my background is campaign, so it's storytelling, campaign mechanics. And so I brought that kind of twist to the, my humble contribution to it would be to that twist onto the zombie mode, which was telling a more definite story, putting a bit more emotional resonance in there.
After all these years, he talks about the impossible Easter egg that he put in Black Ops 3 Zombies, and no one has solved it yet, which that's what we think.
And then the Easter eggs were already kind of going, but I took my programmer's background and started doing encrypted messages on more design-based campaign mechanics inside there, a little bit more, right? And then that kind of grew over time as we kind of got later on and levels like Mob of the Dead and Origins and these other things later in the series.
Then we get to talk about the future of war. Black Ops 1, man versus man. Reznov was corrupting Mason, and Black Ops 2 was machine versus man with the drones. Modern day warfare, Black Ops 3 was machine versus man. It all started with the book of Wired for War. It explores how science fiction has started to play out on modern day battlefields with robots and drones. And the Black Ops storyline was heavily around that. That's so cool how Jason explained how they set up the story and how it got set up, seeing that actually existing in today's society is insane.
Well, let me contextualize this with the development background so you can appreciate this one, which was so I'll do the publishing bit first. So so Black Ops 1 was man versus man, right? Reznov was corrupting Mason, right? And Black Ops 2 was machine versus man, because it was the drones, right? Which is a bit more prophetic now as we look at modern day warfare. We were doing drone stuff back.
And Jason Blundell goes on and talks about how he continued to work on Black Ops 3 and how they had a weak start to the game and how he managed, as Jason was co-leader at the time for Treyarch with the zombies, he had control of who does what. This is how zombies became zombies today, and well, not today, but in the past. And he explains how they got the start of Black Ops 3 and how you need to go, and we need to get this thing done, because if it's not done at a certain point, you have to scrap it.
To give you the kind of context behind it, it was one of those projects where number 3 struggled to get going. It was having a hard time getting going. And then it was one of those, I think it was like 10 or 11 month kind of projects of like, go, got to get the whole thing done and stand zombies up at the same time. Multiplayer was on its own cycle, but for me, it was like, okay, I've got to, get the whole thing going. And it was very much like, okay, if we've got to make this game in this amount of time, it's a complete blank slate, go. And I was like, well, I'm going to go a little bit crazy then. If it's like we got to rush, it's going to be a very hard project to kind of land. I was like, let's go with a very bold storyline. Let's go with something that would never get greenlit in any other situation. So Craig Houston, the writer, just and I just took a very provocative story, went for something that, a bit more David Lynch, a bit more kind of okay, let's challenge reality and really kind of play with the questions of humanity and the questions of autonomy and so forth, which is not normally your Call of Duty kind of shoot people in with guns type storyline. But we thought, when else will we get an opportunity to tell a kind of crazy story? So yes, we went a bit bonkers there. So apologies for that. That's my fault.
And then he talks about how Black Ops 3 became so robust because they had to focus on zombies over the campaign because they had to scrap it.
Work out what we're going to make for the campaign. So the interesting thing about Black Ops 3 is the reason why we had such a robust zombie offering is the campaign was screwed, and I needed I needed 2 months to like write the story with Craig or sit down and go, well, what are we going to do? So, hey, you 200-man team, start making zombie maps while we try and work out what the hell we're going to make.
This is why they set a deadline for Call of Duty for when it should be done. And if it's not at a certain time period, you have to cut it. No matter how far you're into your project, that's why you need to figure out your plan and development time and how long it would take.
There was something exciting about what we were kind of going after, and often is the case, by the way. You have an idea, but Call of Duty, we hit our date on time every time. I said that as in the past tense, but we used to on time every time. We never miss, right? And so when you're asking to kind of explore something or do something different, there's a time box, and it's like there's a zero barrier. And if you've not found it by that point, it's because you're going to be on time every time. Right. So that's what happened to it.
Jason Blundell also explains why Black Ops 4 campaign was cut and the process of how that happened and how it affected it. It seems like they had more time to, focus on like the zombies and obviously the multiplayer in Blackout, which was the first introduction of Battle Royale. And with no campaign, development time is going to be a little weird. And by the end of the Black Ops 4 Zombies life cycle, it didn't get an actual cutscene. It was just animated.
I want to be careful because I don't want to say something that Activision or Microsoft would be upset with me about. Sure. But I would say that there was attempts done. There was a quest to look for a different shape of campaign that did not pan out. There was something exciting about what we were kind of going after, and often is the case, by the way. You have an idea, but Call of Duty, we hit our date on time every time. I said that as in the past tense, but we used to on time every time. We never miss, right? And so when you're asking to kind of explore something or do something different, there's a time box, and it's like there's a zero barrier. And if you've not found it by that point, it's because you're going to be on time every time. Right. So that's what happened to it.
Pretty sure he's referring to Black Ops 4 Zombies because he is talking about a transit type map. It looks like it was trying to mimic something from Black Ops 2, which was a kind of a route system with probably a bus, and it was talking about a zombies map that got cut and it didn't make it into Black Ops 4 Zombies. So that's probably why Black Ops 4 Zombies came out the way it did. So he actually explained that, which is very cool. We actually get behind the scenes of development time of Black Ops 4 Zombies and what happened to these maps and what got cut and what didn't.
Not to drag it in the same way, but we had a zombie map that was very, very exciting. This kind of transit map with buses and stuff had these concept. It just got past the zero barrier time, and then you're like, okay, cut it down, cut it again, because the production penalty kicks in, which is got to land at this point in time. If it's not ready here, then it's gone.
Then he talks about wars and how they're moving resources so everything can happen that you see today. Then he talks about how he loves showing up at Treyarch and doing his job, and it's different every time. I don't know if Jason Blundell was there when they were developing Warzone, but I know he was during Black Ops 4 because they replaced the campaign with Blackout.
Right.
Now, at the same time, you're also spinning up what will become Warzone and what's kind of going on there, right. Blackout and all this kind of stuff, right? So there was a moving of resources as well, right? Which is like, okay, we're going to pivot around this way. And I think that's something I'm incredibly proud of for Activision and for Treyarch, which was their ability to be nimble and to make hard calls quickly, decisively, and make the best out of the situation. Because you don't go to war with the army you want. You go to war with the army you've got, and that's what's also exciting about game development. Every day you walk in, it's different. It's a different situation, and you're like thinking on your feet about, okay, what's the best move to make, right?
And now here is the grand finale. Jason Blundell reveals why he left Treyarch and why it was a good opportunity. Well, not a good opportunity, but he felt the reason why he wasn't needed there anymore, and he couldn't really control what he did before with his previous work with Treyarch and doing zombies. So he felt this was like, if I feel this way and I don't feel like, good coming to Treyarch and working on zombies, and if it comes to a point where you don't feel like you want to work, that is the time where you need to, leave what you're doing, because from his situation, it's crazy.
So what happens at the end of Treyarch there, at the end of your time at Treyarch? Do you have a moment where you fell off the horse and you're like, I got to get, is it, you're most of the way through Black Ops Cold War and you're like, I need a change? Or
no, it was, it's the first time I'm really talking about this stuff, but the machine was changing. The machine was changing. The studio had matured. I was very proud of the studio that I saw when I joined, and then the maturity and the experience at that point. I was like, this is great, but I also realized that I didn't think that I would be helpful into the next phase that they were kind of maybe very similar to what you're describing.
Yeah.
I looked at it, I could see how that was kind of going, and by that point, I'm a co-studio head as well, right? So, there's multiple studio heads. I'm now further away from the game, and that's kind of grinding me a little bit. I'd always kind of gone for promotions and gone higher up because I felt I could. My motivation was always, I should say, the money. No, the motivation was always like, if I go higher up, I can protect the team from greater things, or I can steer the team in a better way. I got to a certain point where I'm like, okay, maybe I am now, but I'm so far away from the game that I'm dropping certain things. I'm not able to touch certain things in certain ways.
Yeah.
And I felt my it wasn't as exciting for me anymore. I suppose very similar to maybe what you're describing, which was there's only been like 2 times in my entire career I've walked into work and thought I don't want to be here. And each time I've like, something has to, if I ever have that thought, something has to change, because I love my job and I love my industry. And if I'm ever like, I don't want to come in today, I never have days like that. That never happens. So if it happens, I go, stop. Something's really off.
Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I will link this full interview below. I just wanted to make this video breaking it down in a short form style video explaining the key points of the interview. Very surprising details what we learned and what Jason Blundell had control of and what he didn't towards the end of Black Ops 4, seeing what has Call of Duty became today. And it's really disappointing of how Warzone was the hard focus for Call of Duty for so long. And it seems like in today's world, they have a tough time bringing quality of the game to each game mode. And then towards the middle of the life cycle, that's where like Black Ops 6, that's where I've decreased players, and seeing each zombies map being released between each other in a short amount of time, it cuts off quality of the game. It being rushed, or the content of the game is getting changed at the wrong times. Call of Duty has lied over the months just how much content and events they were going to release, and it seems to be less content every year and less. So it's promising over the years. You're expecting Call of Duty to get better, but it doesn't seem it's going to into the right direction. It's crazy. So all right, thank you guys so much for watching, guys. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, make sure to hit that bell notification to never miss a single video. And I could talk about this topic all day. It is what it is. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.